Keek on the mic, keek on the mic, keek on the mic, keek on the mic. People, this the intro. Sacramento, California, born and raised. And Antelope is where I spend most of my days. Talk bad about my team, you must be a clown. This is Keek on the mic, so you know you better bear down. Bear down.
Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. Like always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you also follow me on all my social media platforms to stay connected with all Keek on the Mic news. So, Bears fans, before I go any further with today's episode of Keek on the Mic, I just have one huge announcement to let you guys know about. And I just want to let you guys know that my current subscriber count is a little bit over 6,500 subscribers. So first off, I want to thank every single one of you guys that already subscribed to the channel and showing so much love to Keek on the Mic. But I want to challenge you guys to kind of go the extra mile, right? And I know that you guys have been supporting me for the last couple of years, and I'm very appreciative. But now I want to challenge you guys, because once I hit that massive milestone of 10,000 subscribers, I plan to do a massive giveaway of a couple signed Chicago Bears items. So I'm super excited for that. I'm super excited to hopefully soon hit that big milestone of 10K subscribers, which I know I will eventually, because I know I have a really good support system and a lot of loyal followers like you guys. So please continue to smash that subscribe button, hit that bell notification, and share this podcast with every single Bears fan that you know. But once again, thank you guys so much for all the love and support. So now that I got that announcement out of the way, let's go ahead and get started with today's video. And Bears fans, it's going to be a good one today. We have a huge draft rumor going around about a possible trade down of the number 9 overall pick. And I know that we've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks here on the podcast, but we all know that Ryan Poles is interested in trading down again from number 9 overall, which makes all the sense in the world, because the Bears are a rebuilding team, and we can use all the picks that we can get in order to help bring in some hopefully quality players to help the Chicago Bears rebuild. But this is where things get interesting, Bears fans. According to EJ Snyder of the Bootleg Football Podcast, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Chicago Bears have had discussions about a trade involving the 9th overall pick. And these are the exact words of EJ Snyder on his podcast. Bears Steelers is possible. They've talked about it. I know they've talked about it. It's by no means is a sure thing. Trust me, every team is talking to every other team. Hey, if we're going to come up, if we're going to go down, what could we get? What would you give up? So it's not any kind of indicator that's bound to happen, but they have had that discussion. You know, the most likely connect the dots moment is that Pittsburgh needs an offensive tackle, and they go up for one because there is one they like that that will be gone by the time they pick at 17. Interesting, Bears fans. Before I go any further, EJ Snyder is a senior draft analyst. I know a lot of you guys are going to ask in today's video, who the hell is EJ Snyder? And honestly, when I ran into this podcast, I was like, who is this guy? So I did a little bit of background information on him. EJ Snyder is a senior draft analyst. In his podcast, the Bootleg Football Podcast, which I definitely recommend you guys going to check out on YouTube. It's a pretty entertaining podcast. It's all about situations regarding the NFL draft and basically other football news and rumors. So at this point, I think we can all just consider this a rumor. Take this with a grain of salt. But all in all, just like Snyder mentioned in his podcast, there's no indicator that says that this is bound to happen. So let's just start with that. But this rumor is an interesting development, though, considering that I've actually brought this up before in one of my past podcasts about Steelers being a possible trade down partner for the Chicago Bears. I know in my recent podcast when I brought up the Steelers as a possible trade partner for the Bears, I know that I said that this was just kind of like unrealistic. But, you know, you never know. Things can happen. I know that a lot of you guys have commented on that video and said, you know, that's unrealistic. There's no way that the Steelers trade up, you know, for the number 9 overall pick. But I guess my rebuttal to that is that as the draft gets closer, right, and you start hearing these different rumors, I truly feel that anything is possible based on certain needs of an NFL franchise, right? And just like Snyder mentioned in his podcast, the Pittsburgh Steelers have a pretty huge need at the offensive tackle, which that makes things possible, right? And that goes to my point where a lot of you guys may ask in today's video is like, why would the Steelers want to move up? Just like I just mentioned, just like Snyder mentioned in his podcast, the Pittsburgh Steelers have a need an offensive tackle. And I think they know that if they want one of the premier tackles like Paris Johnson Jr., Peter Skoronski, maybe even Broderick Jones, they know that they're not going to get those guys at number 17. So they know that if they want one of those guys, they're going to need to trade up possibly in the top 10 to get one of the premier tackles in this year's NFL draft. But they know that if they also move up, they will be able to leapfrog multiple teams that may also be eyeing guys like Paris Johnson Jr., right? Broderick Jones, Peter Skoronski. So if the team, and this is not just for the Steelers, but this is for any NFL franchise, if a team really wants a player, right, they'll do anything in their power to move up to make sure they get that player on their football team. So once again, I know that before I said this is possibly kind of like an unrealistic scenario, but now when you look at it, anything is possible in terms of NFL news, NFL rumors, especially NFL draft day trades, right? So at this point, you can take things with a grain of salt, but also it's also interesting development just to keep an eye on because anything is possible in terms of the NFL draft. But here's the fun part of the podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers know that trading up to number 9 overall within the top 10 will be expensive for the Pittsburgh Steelers to move up number 9 overall with the Chicago Bears, because one, they would be moving up 8 spots, right? And then another thing we need to consider is that the Bears also need an offensive tackle. So if we trade down from number 9 to number 17, that means we are willing to basically say, you know what, we don't want Paris Johnson Jr., we don't want Peter Skoronski, we don't want Broderick Jones, we don't want Jalen Carter, right? We are basically saying that we are okay with going after a guy maybe like Darnell Wright, right? And I just mentioned this in yesterday's video, saying that if we trade down to like the 17 range, which is the Pittsburgh Steelers pick, that means we are targeting a guy like a Darnell Wright, which to me, I would be totally okay with. I think Darnell Wright is going to be a very good player as well. But to me, if you're trading back, right, you're saying, okay, I don't want any of the guys like Paris Johnson Jr., which would also suck because I think Paris Johnson Jr. is also going to be a very good player in the NFL. So the Pittsburgh Steelers have to know this, that if they want to trade up with the Chicago Bears, it's going to be expensive. You're moving up 8 spots to get the guy that you want. So I don't think Ryan Poles is going to say, hey, here you go. Here's the number 9 overall pick. So they need to be prepared to offer some quality picks that will entice Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears. So let's get into the fun part. What would it cost for the Pittsburgh Steelers to actually move up? I think my initial indicator of that is I truly think that it would cost Steelers an extra pick this year. So maybe like a second, maybe a 3rd round pick, and then an extra pick next year, maybe a 2nd and 3rd next year as well. So I think it would be enticing for Ryan Poles to trade down, obviously, and try to get maybe a couple extra day 2 picks this year, and then maybe a day 2 pick next year as well. I think obviously when you're looking at the Bears situation and they're in a rebuild, I think he will be intrigued by that. So I truly think that will be the price. So I hope the Pittsburgh Steelers are ready to pay that price, especially if this rumor is true and they want to move up to number 9. But let's look at some different trade packages here on the podcast. And I'm going to give you guys 3 different trade scenarios. And I want you guys to know which one you would accept down below in the comment section. This is going to be the fun part of the podcast. And the reason, before I go give you guys my 3 different trade packages from the Pittsburgh Steelers to move up to the number 9 overall pick, the reason why the Pittsburgh Steelers to me is very enticing, because they have a lot of ammunition that may actually entice Ryan Poles to trade down to number 17 with them. One, they have the number 32 overall pick, which was the Bears' current pick via the Chase Claypool trade, which is essentially a 1st round pick. It's called a 2nd round pick. It's the 1st pick in the 2nd round. But essentially, with the Dolphins forfeiting their 1st round pick, that pick is technically a 1st round pick. So that's a valuable pick. So that's definitely enticing. And they also have their own 2nd round pick at number 49 as well. So I can definitely see Ryan Poles trying to get one of those picks, especially they trade down with the Pittsburgh Steelers, which I would definitely be okay with. So those would be a couple of valuable picks that Ryan Poles would be interested in. So they definitely have some picks that can entice Ryan Poles, and they definitely entice me as a Bears fan. So let's go over the 3 different trade packages, starting off with the first trade package where the Bears would receive the number 17 overall pick number 49 overall pick, which is the second round pick, the later second round pick, and a next year second round pick. And the Steelers would obviously get the number 9 overall pick. Obviously, you get an extra second round pick, which would give us what, three second round picks in this year's draft. And then you also get another second round pick next year. So that'll give you two twos and 2 first round picks, I believe, next year as well. So obviously a lot of valuable picks coming our way. I think this would be fair for both sides. Like I said, the Steelers are moving up 8 spots to get their guy. Obviously the Bears move down. Hopefully maybe they get their guy in Darnell Wright. I think it works out for both sides. I definitely would like this trade scenario for the Chicago Bears. The second trade package I have on today's podcast is the Bears receive number 17 overall pick, the number 80 overall pick in the 3rd round. And since they're giving us a 3rd round pick, the Bears then ask for a 2024 first round pick, and obviously the Steelers get the number 9 overall pick. Obviously, this is would be an interesting trade scenario for Ryan Poles. I think this is the one that he would consider. Obviously, you get a pretty good, valuable 3rd round pick, which is number 80 overall. So you're still getting a top 100 player. You're still picking in the 1st round at number 17 overall. And obviously, this is where this deal comes to place is you get a next year's first, which would give you 3 first round picks next year. And then obviously the Steelers move up to number 9 overall and get their guy. Maybe the Bears would have to add maybe their own 3rd round pick to maybe fluff up this deal for the Steelers to accept. But once again, the Steelers are moving up 8 spots, so they don't hold any cards here, right? The Chicago Bears, Ryan Poles holds all the cards here. So I definitely think this would be a trade that I would be interested in. I know this would be a trade that you guys would be interested in. And I know this would definitely be a trade that Ryan Poles would be interested in, especially considering that we would add yet another 1st round pick in next year's draft. And the 3rd and final trade package I have here on today's episode of Kick on the Mic is the Bears receive number 17 overall. They receive the number 32nd pick overall, which would be basically getting our own pick back via the Chase Claypool trade, and a 2024 3rd round pick. And then obviously the Steelers get the number 9 overall pick. Obviously, this is my favorite trade package, Bears fans. We get our own pick back at number 32 overall, which is essentially another 1st round pick. Basically, then we would have 3 second round picks in this year's draft, but you can basically consider this a 1st round pick. You add a 3rd round pick for next year. Obviously, the Steelers move up and get their guy. So I think it would work out for both sides. And this one seems logical because obviously now, since they're giving us the number 32 overall pick back, we're only asking for a 2024 3rd round pick. We're not asking for a 1st, and we're not asking for a 2nd next year, right? I think this would be fair value for both sides. I truly think this is a trade that could work for the Chicago Bears and Ryan Poles, and definitely work for the Pittsburgh Steelers as well. So Bears fans, out of the 3 trade packages that I just showed you on today's episode of Kick on the Mic, which one would you accept? Option 1, option 2, or option 3? Let me know down below in the comment section. So Bears fans, overall, I know a lot of people in the comment section in today's video will say, you know, well, Keek, this is just a pipe dream. This is unrealistic. Like I just mentioned earlier in today's podcast, right? Anything is possible when it comes to the NFL, especially when it comes to NFL draft. And once again, this is not just for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is for any team that's looking to trade up with the Chicago Bears. If there is a player or players that they want, it could be a cornerback, it could be offensive tackle, it could be a defensive lineman, it could be a linebacker. If there's a certain player that you just feel that confident about, that you feel like, okay, he's not going to make it to 17. We have to go get him now. And we have to leapfrog these teams that may be looking at that same player. They will do anything in their power to make sure they go get that player. So anything is possible, Bears fans. I'm excited to see what happens. And like I said, I'm going to be coming on here hopefully more and more as the rumors, as the reports come out about the number 9 overall pick. But it's starting to look, the closer that we get, that Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears will trade down once again and get yet more draft capital to help our rebuild and help to make our football team better. So we'll see what happens. But like I said, make sure you keep hitting that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms, and make sure you share this episode of Kick on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. But other than that, back for an all new Bears podcast right here on Kick on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and bear down.
You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on